Welcome to Flights, the podcast where we uncork the secrets to running a successful destination wedding and group travel business. Each episode, we will explore the good, bad, and ugly of destination weddings while sipping on the finest wines from our pantries.
As your hosts, we believe in savoring the journey with a glass of wine in hand. Join us, Mario Lopez and Ashley Morris of Destination Wedding University, as we explore all of the adventures and misadventures that we experience in this crazy industry.
Oh God! I just spilled hot coffee all over my lap.
Wait, you spilled what? It sounded like you said vodka.
No, coffee.
Oh, coffee?
Oh my God, I'm that McDonald's lady.
I was like, Ashley, it is 9:30 in the morning. Why are you having vodka?
I mean, I'm not opposed, but I just like, no, that was burning. Oh no, it got on my fancy face thing.
I'm going to stop this.
No, you could leave it. It's fine. I got one of those. This is funny. One of the Omnilux, like the red light therapy things for your face. You know, it's like a mask and you put it on. And except I just spilled coffee over it. So, well, that was a good money well spent. Well, I was picking up this coffee cup and there must have been a little bit spilled on the outside and it was kind of wet and it just slipped out of my hand.
Nice.
We're not drinking, I promise. Should be. It's Friday.
Well, speaking of drinking, we need to put this disclaimer out there. It's you and I were just talking about Clase Azul and the different types of Clase that they have.
Yes.
If anyone knows the matte black bottle.
No, not that. We're talking about two different things. You finish your thought and then I'll tell you my thought.
Yeah, if anyone knows the matte black bottle and what
that's the Añejo. The matte black Clase bottle, because the
Yeah.
Reposado is the one we like, the blue and white, like pretty painted. And then the matte black one is usually the Añejo, so like the aged one, and it's even more expensive. It's like several $100s a bottle.
Oh, well, then which one were you talking about?
It's a different brand. It's a completely different brand, but it has like a similar shape. And it has like it's like a pottery, like unpainted pottery color, like kind of that like grayish brown, but it's matte and it's still like hand painted. So it's not shiny. It's a matte finish. And they also have like a silver Reposado and an Añejo. I don't know. It's at this divey liquor store by my middle of nowhere, Missouri house. So after we get done with this, I'm going to drive over there and see what it is. Matt said I should have just called him because as soon as we got home, I was Googling it and trying to find it. He's like, you should just call the guy. You talked to him for like 10 minutes about tequila. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway. To catch everyone up, there's a really divey gas station liquor store by my house that is making some improvements. They've just doubled in size and added a liquor section and have a tequila section that is fairly decent for a gas station in middle of nowhere, Missouri. I was shocked. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't super outrageously priced. I thought for sure they'd be like price gouging because it's the only thing around. But it seems pretty good. And the guy seemed to know what he was talking about. And he said he would do special orders for me.
Ooh.
I know. This is how I make friends in weird places.
Dangerous. This is dangerous.
Because I just talk to random people. So this is the other thing I think we should do. If you want to just quit this and give up and go do something totally different, I watch these YouTubers, Kara and Nate. I've watched them for like years. They've been traveling full time for 7 or 8 years. They're just two people from Tennessee that didn't know anything about anything and decided they wanted to travel and bought a ticket and never came home. And they've been doing it for like 8 years. They started a company last year, the year before, called FareDrop, and FareDrop monitors destinations for like price drops on air. And you can get an email every day and it tells you what like the next deal is. It's great. But they are hiring, they're going to pay someone to travel the world for 6 months. They pay you, it's your job. And all you have to do is make YouTube videos. So they took auditions and people submitted videos. And instead of like a final interview, they had the final 3 people make videos and submit them. Those are online so you can watch and vote for them. But you raising your hand, that's exactly it. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. I mean,
dream job.
Clearly we would be the best people for this job. This is our application. Please hire us.
Yeah, I think the opening where I literally burned my entire lap with boiling hot coffee indicated that. But it's
no
kind
one said
of
we were graceful.
that's true. You should go on The Amazing Race. Can't even say it with a straight face.
You and me, they would just find us at a bar somewhere.
I would give up like in the first day. I'd be like, I don't want to win that bad. I'm just hanging out here. You guys go. We're good. That would be me on the Amazing Grace.
Absolutely.
No, but so I watched all 3 videos this morning. That's what I was doing during my workout. And I'm very torn. You'll get this as an advertising person. There's one couple that like followed the brief. Like they ticked all the boxes. You can tell it's exactly what needed to be done. But there's one couple that has way more personality, but didn't do anything they were supposed to do. So I'm very torn on who understood the assignment and did what they were supposed to do and who was just fun to watch. So I'm very curious to see who wins. And if they do this again, I think we should apply.
My vote is for the ones that are fun to watch. And also, as someone who would be putting this on, I would be the most annoyed with those two.
Yeah.
Like, disqualified automatically just because
yes. But the other couple wasn't bad. It was just more like polished and like packaged, because they like, you could tell they followed all the instructions of what they were supposed to do. And this other couple, they were just crazy. Like, so I'll be very curious. And if it's successful and if they do it again, then we should do it.
Yeah, let's go travel the world. I'm in.
Okay. Well, just add it to our list of all of our things.
Yeah, I would like to say that we have gone on at least 3 different tangents before we've even started this morning. So for anyone listening, good luck today.
Well, I know I'm not overly caffeinated because it's all spilt in my lap. So
nice. I finished my venti before we even started. So
I thought you were getting off the caffeine.
Oh my God, no.
Isn't that why you got the tea?
Yeah, I was getting off like the excess caffeine. But there is still a lot of caffeine. Like my normal people's intake of caffeine is where I should be. I was far above that. That's
like when people go to rehab. I wasn't drinking a lot. Yes. I was drinking normal.
I really needed some caffeine rehab. Like it was bad. I was spending like nights up to like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I'd fall asleep and then be up to work the next morning.
Oh, that's not good.
It wasn't working. So
all right. Well, glad you only have the venti then. Seems like you're off to a good start.
Yeah. It's
okay.
So what are we talking about today?
Quoting, proposals, how to tell people where to go. Admittedly, it is my least favorite thing to do in this job. I hate quoting.
Really? Mm-hmm. If I could do it all day long and that's the only thing I did, I'm good.
I like the excitement of it. Like when you get a new couple and you're so excited and you're like, these are some options that I think would be a good fit for you. Like we'll talk about each of our processes and how we do that. Like I love that part. And when they're like asking questions and they're all excited, like that's all great. I just I'm better at it now, but it was always like a mental block for me at the beginning of like, what should I recommend? What are they going to say? And then I would get super anxiety when they would come back with questions. I'm like, oh my God, I'm second guessing everything that I'm doing. Like it was a big source of anxiety for me at the beginning. Now I think I've gotten it down to a solid process and I'm pretty confident with it. But when I was starting out and even up until a few years ago, this was like my Achilles heel. Like I just had a huge mental block against quoting.
I am so glad that you said that because although this is the part of the job that I really enjoy, it's also you do get that anxiety. You do get, especially when they ask questions like, did I totally misread this? Like, am I looking like an idiot right now? But no, like you have to trust that you've been doing this for a long time and you have the knowledge in the industry, and the questions that they're asking are not coming from a place of challenging you, but of a place of just trying to educate themselves on the very best decision.
And that's it. It was like a mindset shift where I just had to think, okay, like they're not, like you said, challenging me. It's not frustration. They just don't know. And I said this in the last episode or one of the ones, I think we were talking about FAMs, where I said the best thing you can invest your money in is travel. Mm-hmm. And this is where that really, really helps, because how much more confident do you feel when you can say, I've been there, I've stayed there, this is what it's like that just helps with your confidence so much.
Night and day. It's after I've been to a property and I've really experienced it as a guest, not as but as a guest to actually
not a site.
Yeah, but actually experiencing the property, then it's so much easier to go into those conversations and say, this is where you need to go eat, and this is the time that you need to be by the pool, and this is blah blah blah, and you're able to kind of have those entire conversations with someone. That makes a world of difference. I actually have one property that I sell all the time that I have not been to yet. And I feel like it after I go there, it's going to be just even tenfold more that I'm going to be selling it. But
yeah, it's hard. I mean, it can be done. Obviously, as travel professionals, we can't go everywhere. Like no one's been everywhere. So there are going to be times where you recommend places that you haven't been. But the good thing about doing this now, 2024, versus doing it even 10 years ago when I started, is there's so many sources for information where you can be really educated on a property, even if you haven't been there. But we digress. Okay, so let's talk about our processes because I have a feeling they're different, just knowing that we do
I
things
know
a
there's
little bit differently. How a new client comes to you, they sign your contract, they hire you. Walk us through. What do you do?
well, so I actually want to start a little bit before that because
Well, fine.
the part before that is very important to how we handle everything afterwards. So it's when people come into our funnel and they sign up for a consultation with us, one of the first things they do is fill out a form that tells us a little bit about what they're looking for and what they want their experience to be.
You said before the consult, right?
Before the consult, they fill out
Yeah.
this form. Yep. So that we have it on the call. Then on the call, we can go and sit. You were really struggling with that coffee today.
I burned myself again. Serious conversation. Go back. It's fine.
So then as we're on the call, I think a lot of agents treat this part after they're hired. But what we do is on the call, we don't speak specifically about a resort at that time, but we do talk about the experience that we want their guests to have. That's, are they toes in the sand, for their ceremony? Are they rooftop? Are they, reading by a pool? Are they, playing volleyball at the beach? I want to find out everything about their group as a whole. Obviously, it's not going to be, dead on for everyone, but just so that we have an idea of what they want that experience to be. And then that helps me move into the next phase. So then once they hire us, what we do is I am going to share my screen here.
Ooh, I better get ready because I'm going to share my screen now.
Little insight. So what we do is we send them a Trello board, and the Trello board is a whole bunch of information here that they have to make sure that they understand how the planning process is going to go. The first thing that we interact with them with is this resort choices. And
people, this is a time, sorry to interrupt you, but if you are not watching the YouTube, run to your laptop, run. Like if you are listening just audio, that is great, but you have to see this Trello board. So please make sure you watch.
That's what you do, or what I do then is go through and based on the conversations that I had with them and based on the forms that they submitted and based on the notes that I took during the call, I put together a list of recommended resorts that I think are going to be the best fit. And that really helps to cut down on some of the back and forth. Between those three things, I have a generally good idea of what experience that they want to have. So we go in here and we, put in the resorts, but I also have additional click-throughs that'll be for each resort. I put together this video and I walk them through, hey, here's where you find the information. Here's the resorts that we're recommending. Now let's talk about them.
Love it.
So like, let's take Lopasan, for example. We click on Lopasan. In here, it has a brief overview of the property itself, what Lopasan is, how long they've been, around, what's their big selling points. We include some images. Some of them are images from their site. Some of them are images from us being on site and just, our own personal experiences. We give some basic resort amenity information. And then we go through and talk about this particular group was actually a offsite wedding, so they didn't need this information, but we have all of the wedding packages that are included, anything that they need to know about the wedding experience. We usually include some of the ceremony locations, and then I like to add just a little bit more information at the bottom for each time that I do this. So for each guest, I have first of all how long it is either from the airport, or if they're an offsite wedding, how long it is the drive to their offsite location.
Okay.
I also go directly on the website and pull rates. And what I do when I'm going through the recommended hotels, I say, okay, we always like to quote kind of a base room just for guests that want to be there, but don't have a big budget to stay. So let's talk about what that base room is. And that kind of acts as I can't think of the term. There's a term for it, but it's
lead in.
Yeah, a lead in, consistently across the board for every hotel.
Oh, you're making like an apples to apples comparison, like across all the resorts.
Right. Yeah. So I'll put in whatever the base room is that we're quoting, whatever the dates are that they're staying, and then literally from the website, roughly per night, how much that room is going to be. And what I do in my videos, I explain, I said, this is the published rate. So room block rates are going to be different, but just to give us an idea of roughly where we're landing for the room, this is kind of what we're looking at.
Well, you have to be able to give them the context of, is this a Rio or is this LeBlanc?
Right.
Like you have to give them some idea.
Right. And my whole point in doing this is I attempt to save myself some time. I don't pull quotes. I don't waste our tour operators' time pulling quotes for all these different resorts that we're looking at until we start narrowing things down. So this is just a rough idea of kind of what we're looking at. Then we go through after they've watched the video, they send me back their feedback on which one they want to go with. And that's when I start pulling quotes and making sure that they understand what the room actually is going to look like, what the comps are actually going to look like, if there's any blackout dates, things like that. That's what that first part of the process goes like. By doing it that way, by vetting them and qualifying them throughout the process, I don't go more than 2 rounds on recommendations ever.
Yeah, and you're able to do that because you well qualified them at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are sending people, sometimes I see posts where people have said, oh, I've sent them, this is the 12th hotel I've sent them and they don't like anything. I'm like, oh, that's not a them problem, that's a you problem. Like you aren't qualifying them well enough. You're not reining them in from the beginning to focus them, because there are so many options, and people that are just poking around it like that, they just don't know what they want, or they haven't been coached on how to decide what they want. And that's our job, is to lead them there to get there.
It's so important that even like in the consultation, that's you're establishing yourself as the expert in the industry, because you really want them to know that I'm not putting these resorts in front of you because I'm throwing spaghetti at a wall. I want to make sure that you know that I'm making these recommendations because for your group and from what you told me, these are the best fits in the area. And usually it's a given. The second round that I send, the resorts aren't as strong when I send them. They usually end up going back to one of the hotels that I go from the first round.
Because you gave your best ones right off the bat.
Right. I'm not going to waste anyone's time with, oh, this might work. Blah, blah. No, this is going to be the one that you want to go with. Trust me.
Yeah. So we do something similar. The package is a little different looking, but it's the same idea. So do you want me to share?
Yes.
I'll share. I don't know how to share.
I
got to get the right tab up before I can share. So we kind of the same thing. Actually, before I show it, I'm not going to show it yet because I want to talk about what we do first. Go away. So we have the consult, they fill out a form to get on my calendar. That form asks some basic questions like, where are you in the process? Like you're just looking, or you've already decided, or you don't know if you want a destination wedding. Like I'm going to know where they are in the process mentally. And then I ask, have you looked at any resorts? We kind of ask some questions like, do you want kids there, adults only, basic stuff. But let's be real, most people at that stage don't know. They don't really know what they want unless they were fortunate enough to have been to a couple of destination weddings in the past, which happens. They're popular enough now that there are guests that have been to many destination weddings. But a lot of people just have a vague idea of what they're looking for. And then we have the consult just like you do. I don't spend time talking about specific resorts. I really don't even spend time talking about destinations. It's what are you looking for? What's your vision for the day? Do you want toes in the sand or not? Do you want a garden? Do you want a rooftop? I'll ask vague questions like, where's everyone coming from?
Yeah.
How far do they want to travel? Are you experienced travelers, or will this be some people's first time out of the country? Because I'm trying to get a feel for how far I can go and how complicated I can be, kind of cross-referenced with how much they will realistically want to spend, because it's a very different audience for someone who've we've been to 6 destination weddings. This is our 12th all-inclusive resort. We've been to 20 countries versus nobody in my family's even has a passport. It's a very different experience. And so trying to use our time on the first call to really get to know them and what they're looking for and, their travel style and things that are important to them, talking about the difference between legal and symbolic. I want to get all that foundation done first. And I tell them listen, we could talk for a whole other hour just about destinations, but we're not going to do that today. There's so much to fit into this first call. Today, I want to get to know you. I want to see how I can help. I'm sure you have questions about me and what I do and how this process works. So let's use this time today to talk about that. If we decide to go forward to the next step, the second call is all about destinations. What do you like at a resort? Do you like to make dinner reservations? Do you not like to make dinner reservations? You know, like that kind of stuff. And then I put together the proposal. So by the time I get to this quoting stage, I already know a lot about them. I probably already have a mental list of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And the quoting part now is really easy. At the beginning, where I said it was hard for me, is because I was trying to do way too much in that first call. I was like trying to get to know them, trying to understand their family situation, their budget. And then we were talking about 5 destinations, you know, Cabo and Puerto Vallarta and Cancun and like DR and all that. Like it was just too much. And that's why my quoting was a mess, because we were still up here at the top of the funnel where I was trying to, you know, have them decide between 15 different things. Now the whole getting to know you process is narrowing. And by the time I put together a proposal, I may be giving them 5 or 6 places that I think could be a good fit. And we've already eliminated entire destinations. Like I've already had the conversation with them. Hey, you checked the box for Cabo. Do you know that most beaches in Cabo aren't swimmable? Does it bother you if you can't swim in the ocean? There goes Cabo. You know, like we get rid, and we're just narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. So by the time I put my thing together, like you said, it's the best. It's the best of the best, and we have a pretty good shot at them picking something. So what I do, let me get this pulled up. This is actually one that she's in the process of picking a resort, so she's not quite done yet. So instead of where you use Trello, which is what we teach in the playbook, I do something similar, but I just use Travefy. I think the idea is the same. Like we have a bank of pre-completed material. Like we have a library of resorts, and we're just putting them in a vessel to deliver to the client. So I use the proposal part of Travefy. And so we have kind of this intro section, and I make a video for them too, just like you did. Like, here's me walking you through these options. And then we go into each resort, and I have kind of a little blurb at the top that has like, you know, the star rating, which, let's be real, star ratings are BS, but whatever.
Not the same overseas for sure.
Yeah, not the same. How far from the airport, you know, and then I have some links. Like I'll link to like I make a Google album for every resort I've ever been to. I don't know if you can, am I only sharing the tab or am I sharing the screen?
Nope, I see it.
Okay. So like I, you know, have my Google album for every resort I've been to, and I link to it. I will, if I've done a wedding there and the clients have given me permission and I've written a blog post about it, I'll include a link to that blog post so they can see it, and just try to give them a feel. I kind of have the like little blurb, the official description from like the hotel website, and the little blurb about like what's included, you know, 6 pools, 5 bars, like whatever. And then I give them kind of like my Ashley notes of here's why I picked it for you. And so 2/3 of this is already done. It's in my Travefy library. I just plop it in once I pick the resorts, and I do personalize this little blurb at the top, like my notes, and kind of tell them why I picked it, and, you know, try to tie in some things that we talked about in our call. Like you mentioned, you want this, here's why I put this on here. And then we link to, I have a Google Drive of all the wedding packages, all the menus, all the everything. And I just link to that. So kind of similar to what you do, just different format.
Oh, different vessel, but honestly, everything is basically spot on. I think the only thing that I like that you do in your process that I don't do right now is I don't put my notes in writing. My notes, I go through when I talk about the resort, I tell them all those personal experiences that I have, or we've gotten feedback on. However, I don't put that in writing. So that's actually, I love that.
Yeah. And other things too, sometimes I'll swap out the pictures. Like this couple has 2 grooms. So I made sure to find some wedding pictures that like had 2 grooms or 2 brides or whoever matches their situation. You know, I try to like make it a little more personalized. Or if they've told me on the call, like, hey, we are really like pool people, not beach people, I'm not going to show them 6 pictures of the beach, you know, like it's just, let's show them what they're looking for.
Right.
So they do, I would say like 2/3 of it is done. The last third gets personalized, but building this library, obviously it was a time investment, but now that it's built, I can do a quote in 20 minutes. Like it's as long as it takes me to make the video. That's how long I can that's how long it takes me now to put things together, which is a huge improvement over when I used to spend like a whole freaking day on one quote. You're just if you don't figure out a process to streamline your quoting, you are limiting your growth potential, because you cannot do 50 weddings a year if it's taking you a full day to do a quote. Like the math doesn't work. There's not enough hours in the day. So
you're spot on there.
well, yeah. And so this is it seems so like minor, but this is a really big building block of what it's going to take for you to build your business, because it's part of your process and it's your time. It's where you're spending your time on things that are the most valuable. So my goal is to get this into their hands as quickly as possible. I try to send it within like 48 hours of whenever they sign with me. I have them fill out one more form that gives like more detailed info. Sometimes I'll just start the quote straight from that. Sometimes we have to have another call because I'm like, tell me what you mean by this. And then, just getting all that info. But once I'm like given the blessing to like go forward and put together options, I try to get it to them within like 48 hours because I want to move on to the next step, because that's how I'm going to build the volume. We got to get out of this like quoting stage early on.
That's part of our guarantee. 48 hours afterwards is when you're going to receive the resort recommendations from us.
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then from there, it just depends on how quickly they make recommendations, how quickly and how thoroughly they provide their feedback to you. But we try same thing, try and get out of that quoting process as quickly as possible, get into contract, because that's when they can start booking, and that's when the automations kick in, right?
Yeah. One thing I noticed you did that I don't is you have like starts at pricing in there, like the Tropical View pricing starts at. I don't always do the pricing. What I will say, and this is in like the video I sent, like I'll say all of these are in the price range that we talked about. Like I just try to get that out of the way, and I don't put prices in the quotes because there's going to be one person in the party that just sees the price, that like is laser focused on the number and doesn't read anything else I've said or doesn't listen to the video. They're just focused on price. And I want them to be more emotionally attached to the property before we start getting into $237 a person a night or $247 a person a night. Like I just don't want to get into all that detail quite yet.
It will backfire on me one day. It has not yet.
It's probably, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it, because you can make a case for either one. It's just different approaches, and you have to do what's comfortable for you.
Yeah, I put a gigantic disclaimer. That's when I'm going through the video, I put a gigantic disclaimer. This is not your price. This is not, this is just a rough idea of probably what we're looking at that time of year. Blah, 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 blah. So that's one day someone's going to, and I'm sure someone sees that and just stops immediately, right? Like they don't even go into the video and things like that. But something, like you said, probably not a right or a wrong way to do it. Just it's there.
Okay. Well, I think you have to know your couple too. Like if they are incredibly price sensitive, then yeah, you should probably start to put that in there upfront earlier. Like if you've talked to them and on the call, all they talked about was budget, money. How much does this cost? How much does that cost? What's included? Like if you are getting the signals that they're very price sensitive, then maybe put it in. But if they're like, we don't really know how much this costs, we just know what we like, or if we saw something, we could stretch the budget, like then maybe leave it off. Like, there's not going to be a one size fits all approach, because part of our job is to really get to know that couple and work with them, right. be there for them in a way that makes sense for them. So most of the time I don't put the prices on. What I tell them, so when I go through the video, the first part of my video is, here's what I'm sending you. Here's how I want you to give me feedback. Yeah. Like this is how, and I'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things I talk about is I don't have pricing in here. All of these are in the range we talked about. Once you decide on your top two, then pricing, wedding availability, wedding packages, those can be our deal breakers, like our tiebreakers.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about that right now. Let's use that for the next phase to like break ties. And it's a really smooth decision-making process when we do it that way.
That's interesting. So that is where we differ a little bit. It's when it comes to pricing. Cause like wedding packages, things like that, I toss that all out there. Video one. They get a full breakdown of packages, what everything's going to cost, just so we have an idea. And that helps me immediately toss some options out the door.
Yeah.
It's one couple right now, not the one that I just showed. I have another couple who was looking at Hyatt, or I think it was Hyatt, Ziva Cap Cana, or Lopasan. And the big differentiator that really helped them make a decision was Hyatt's wedding packages were just too high. They already knew they were going to outprice themselves once they started going, and we didn't have to go round and round. It was that first round, they knocked it out of the park.
But I bet you mentally they got it down to those 2 hotels, and you're doing it. It's just you're saying it in a different way.
Yeah.
Like you narrowed them down to like 2 hotels, and then the wedding package was the tiebreaker. I tell my couples up front, there's 100 places that you could get married, and they're all going to be very similar. And every single resort will say that they do weddings, to check the box and say that they do weddings. About half of them are good at it, and about half of those are responsive, in our budget, easy to work with, flexible, willing to work with us. My job is to help you weed through all those options that don't make sense for you. Let's only focus on that Venn diagram, that like best of the best of the best. And now we're going to use these things to make decisions. But I want them to fall in love with the property, and then no one chooses a resort because of the wedding package. They choose a couple of resorts, and then the wedding package is kind of the tiebreaker.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're doing it in different ways. I swear to God, I gave him a really big treat and bribed him before, but now you can hear him. He's sitting on my feet, just clucking like a chicken.
We had a whole conversation about this, Jack. That's not.
I know. It's like, what are you doing, buddy? Yeah, oh, he's fine. 2-year-old beagle. It's just his whole mood. It's 2-year-old beagle. So it's interesting. How do you want them to give you feedback? Do you guys have another call to give feedback? Do they send you an email? Like, how do you collect the feedback on what you want?
What I always encourage our couples to do is to keep all of your communication in Trello. So whether it's, a post or a video back to us, we've had some couples send a video back, but usually like if it's a post is how they usually send it back to us. This is the resort. This is, our feedback on it. This is, so on and so forth. I have this one couple right now that is just knocking it out of the park with their feedback.
Oh, I love it when you have a good couple.
Oh, they're amazing. We made the recommendations. They have an idea of what they want to go with, but they did want to see around too. And so they literally like a paragraph on each one of those resort things that I brought up. They would add a paragraph about what they liked and what they didn't like about each one of those properties, and made round 2 so much easier when it comes with complete feedback. But I do like it in writing as much as possible, just so that I don't miss anything. I can make sure that I can go back and reference it. I don't have to rewatch a video if I deliver it as a video, but I don't want to do that. Like,
well, but you know more than them, so you can take their feedback and run with it. They're still learning, so they need more education. You don't. You can pick out like keywords and parts of what their feedback are, and you can just go with it. We do something similar. So when I send the video, I say, here's what I'm sending you. This is how I want you to give you, or this is how it would help. I say it better than how I'm saying it right now, like half a cup of coffee, because the other coffee is in my lap. A really important part of this process is feedback. Like, I'm sending you this and I'm asking you all these questions because I'm trying to get inside your head a little bit, but I'll make a joke. Like, I'm really good at my job, but I can't read your mind. So I really, really, really need your feedback, because I don't just want them to say, well, I don't like any of these. Do you have anything else? No. Tell me what you like and what you didn't like, because that's the only way I can give you better recommendations. And I'm not falling into this trap where I send you 15 resorts and you don't like any of them. So no, that's not good enough feedback for me. You can't just say, I don't like these. Can we see something else?
Yeah.
So what I have them do is I have them make a Google Doc, and usually couples of this age that I'm working with now are all incredibly tech savvy. They've been using Google Docs since like junior high. Like, they know how to do it. Make me a Google Doc, put the resorts I gave you in rank order, and then I want pros and cons about each one. So then and then they send me the Google Doc. I have to tell them how I want the feedback, because they don't know. They can't read my mind either.
Yep.
So I say, put the resorts in rank order, give me your pros, cons, and questions about each one, send me the Google Doc. I'll go in and write feedback on your feedback, and then let's narrow it down. And from there, I'll say, hey, it looks like your top 2 were Secrets Maroma and Hyatt Zilara. Let's give me 3 wedding dates in priority order. Let's start pulling rates and availability.
Yeah.
I don't care about their feedback on options 3, 4, and 5, unless it was something like contradictory, or like something that didn't make sense. Then I'll want to touch on it. But kind of the first rule of sales is, once they're interested, keep going. Like, don't backtrack. Don't try to bring other things into the conversation. We're trying to narrow their scope and narrow the field. Like, just run with their top 2 and go with it. Or even if they have a top 1, hey, it looks like Secrets Maroma is your first choice. Give me 3 dates. Let's start checking availability and just keep the train moving.
Absolutely. And with the same thing, establishing yourself as the expert, that if you take their feedback and go and start reinventing the wheel, it looks like you're second guessing yourself.
And
Right.
that is the biggest trap I see advisors fall into when they're newer at this or not. Sometimes I see really experienced advisors doing this. Don't get caught in that hamster wheel with your client. You are the authority. You know more than them. Lead. They want to be led. That's why they paid you. That's why they hired you. And so you have to lead them through the process.
I think one of the most important things that we have in our terms and conditions is right before they even sign up with us. It's in the terms and conditions. We will do 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Of resort. If you don't like any of those, there's an additional fee for us to keep going.
Yeah.
That's to help cut down on some of that, just again tossing spaghetti at the wall. Like that's not what we're doing here.
Well,
So
and it gives a boundary. Like they know, like, especially when you give them that service agreement up front, like this is what you're getting. If you want more, yes, we can give it to you, but there's a cost. It's a boundary for your time, which we all need.
Absolutely.
That's smart to put that in there. Ours is, we didn't have that for a long time. And also things I've learned over time, my service agreement says I will send you 3 to 5 locations or resorts at all-inclusive resorts in international locations.
Yes.
Because how many times have you had someone come back and say, oh, we don't like any of these. Can we get married in Florida? Or we don't like any of these. What do you have in the US? And you're like, no, I told you at the beginning, I don't do that, but you have to have it in writing as part of your terms too.
Absolutely. Go for it. Also, my fee is non-refundable.
Yeah, bye. Because I just did all this work for you and you didn't know what you wanted, which is
Right.
fine, but you did use my time and expertise and I deserve to be compensated for that.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get through all the feedback, you pick a resort, and then you start contracting, which is great. How long does that process take you? I know it varies by couple, but if everything was perfect, if you had that perfect couple that's giving amazing feedback, how long does that process take from initial call to signing a contract?
I would say that, so what I always like to tell my couples is that from our consultation to actual signing of the room block contract, it's a month.
Yeah, that's what I say too.
And it's that's not because it takes me a month to get the job done. It's because they're going to need some time to discuss the resorts, and then we're going to go and we're going to get a quote on room rates, and we got to check availability, which, of checking availability. If it's not online, like some of our vendor partners, then it's emailing with the wedding department, and then forget it. That's 2 weeks, right? So you have that, and then it takes a week for the contract to come back once you've officially requested the contract. So with all of those variables in there, it's almost always a month, unless someone really has a hard time, like my no-name couple that I won't include right now.
It's like Voldemort.
We're at 2 months right now, and
name.
we're not any closer to a resort. So.
Okay, but that is a good thing. What does your service agreement say? Do they have a certain amount of time to make a decision?
That's not in my service agreement. I am outside of the boundaries of my service agreement when it comes to locations right now. But I knew that.
Do about that.
Yeah, I knew that taking this couple on. I knew that it's based on the date that they were trying to get, that it was going to be harder than any of my other ones.
So I had the holiday people.
These are the holiday people, yeah. So I had to, I just kind of knew in the back of my mind this wasn't going to be a normal situation. Now we are getting to a point where I'm running out of options. I'm hitting dead ends, no's on most of the places that I'm going to. I have given them an option that would work, and we've not heard back on what we're going to do from there. So
for anyone listening who is newer, don't let your couples try to get married over Christmas or New Year's. But the resorts just don't want to do it. They have enough going on. They're usually blackout dates for comps, so there's no benefits for your couple anyway. It's really, really tricky, and that's what Mario's been running into over the last 2 months.
I was overly confident in my relationship.
We all want to be the hero.
Yeah, I want to be the hero. I have a lot of relationships, in the industry. I thought I could pull some strings. No one wants to. No, it's not going to happen. So
well, now you know.
Now I know.
I think I told you this 2 months ago, but and these are just things that come with experience. So I know for me, when I was first starting out, I would do the same thing. Like, oh no, I know I can do it. I know there's someone that'll make it work. Or, oh no, I can do this. Once you've done this a few 100 times, you will realize, nope, that's not going to happen. And that's part of your qualifying process too. Like I think I've gotten much better. These quoting issues where couples won't give feedback or don't know how to give feedback or can't make up their mind, a lot of that is solved in the qualifying process at the beginning. And I can see it now at the beginning in a way that I couldn't 5 years ago. And that just comes with experience. Like there's some red flags that come up in consults where you know that they're going to be a problem in this like quoting, giving feedback, making decisions area. you can see them now. So like, what are some of your red flags that you see?
Any indecisiveness or wishy-washiness on the call. That is a big red flag for me. If they've done no research at all, that's a big red flag for me. And I think one of the larger red flags is if one of the spouses or soon-to-be spouses is not there for an unjustified reason. Like if they get on the call and they say, oh, so-and-so isn't here, he had a meeting, I apologize, blah, 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 he'll be here next time, fine. But if they get on the call and just handle everything on their own, and there's no mention of the spouse, that actually is a red flag for qualifying for me, because that other person is not going to be involved in some of the decision making.
Or they're going to pop up like whack-a-mole later and make everything chaos. Like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? Red flag?
Well, those are some good ones. Your last one just made me laugh because I've had one person show up on the call and then reveal that they aren't even engaged yet.
Oh.
And they want to book a wedding date because they rightfully know that things book up far in advance and they should be planning in advance, and they want to get married as soon as possible after he proposes. So she wants it all done. So I have signed room block contracts for a couple of couples that were not even engaged yet.
Has that always worked out? Have they traveled?
I don't know yet because a couple of them haven't traveled yet. One of them has already traveled yet. I mean, this is not super common. It's happening more. I think it was happening more like post-COVID because everything was crazy for a minute and hotels were booking up like 18 months in advance. And this girl had been following me on Instagram for a while. So she kind of knew. She was like, if I want what I want, I'm not going to be able to get it. Or, she was rightfully kind of worried. They haven't traveled yet. I've had another one that has. And as far as I know, everything is great. I don't know. We'll see. Come back in 2 years to do your next wedding.
As long as they travel. I wish you the best afterwards. But as long as you travel, that's fine. That's it.
but it was kind of red flaggy, where I was like, really? You're not even engaged yet? Are you sure? And it's been not the easiest booking process. You can tell when the families just aren't on board because they wait till the last minute and then they ask 100 questions about what's included, what's the price, where do I get this, how do I, you can just tell that they haven't been on board the whole time. There is a question I ask in my first call that is huge. If you ask one question, take this from me. It's, what do your friends and family think about a destination wedding? Are they excited? And then let's see, are they excited? Do they have questions? Are they nervous? Like, I want to know, because some people are really good at kind of zigging and zagging away from their family and doing what they want. They have, strong personalities and they're strong-willed and they don't care what other people think. This is what they're doing. And then there are some people that really cave to the pressure of what their future in-laws think or what their parents think, especially if somebody else is paying. And so that is kind of a red flag to me at the beginning. If I ask, like, what do your friends and family think? Are they on board? And it's not yes or anything but they are so excited, they can't wait. That's always a little red flag to me, because those are people that are going to get dragged down in that decision-making process because they're crowdsourcing every decision and they're too reliant on everyone else's feedback. They can't make decisions on their own.
I think one of the red flags that I've found recently, just got burned on recently for it, is new money. That's
yeah. You're just gonna go there.
yeah. It's if you have a couple that
Mario of the Wisconsin Lopez's.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah. Well, I am clearly not, but
anyway, go on with your new money rant, Titanic lady.
No, but it was a learning lesson for me for sure, because they came into this consult super confident. This is, our budget. This is our guest budget. This is, we should be fine, blah, blah, blah. And they mentioned a little something that I didn't listen to, where they said, we have millionaires in our group and we have brokenaires. Like it's, we have a range.
Brokenaires.
Yeah. And we picked a resort that was not overly, it wasn't priced high. It was priced, there were some nice club level rooms that they could get into, but for the most part, there were some really reasonable rates.
Yeah.
The group canceled completely because what you were saying before about, is your group excited to do a destination wedding? One thing went out to the family, and the family all just started saying, no, we can't afford it. No, we can't afford it. They didn't qualify their group at all.
It's an important question. And I know the topic today is specifically about quoting and proposals. And we have talked about qualifying before. That was it last season. We talked about qualifying, but they're all kind of the same. They're very interrelated because if you don't qualify your client well, your quotes will never be spot on. They can't be because you didn't get enough information or you didn't dig into some of these things. And there's nosy ways to ask questions without asking it like that. I don't just come out and say like, hey, are your families going to be a giant pain in my ass? No, I said, are they excited about your wedding? Oh, what do they think? And you can pull from that feedback and kind of speculate on what that group is going to be like.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's one. So you said a red flag for you is if both parties don't show up unless they have a justifiable reason, which I agree with. My red flag is when extra people show up. I've been on a Zoom consult. I didn't even know. They gave me no heads up. I got on the Zoom. It was the bride, the groom. They were eating dinner as they were talking to me. Like their iPad or whatever was like propped up on the table, which no, like, I'm sorry. I need you 100% focused. No driving, no eating, no anything. I actually added that to my like pre-call email because I'm so tired of that. But bridesmaid, mom, dad, like it was like, I felt like American Idol. There were like 6 people on the screen. And I'm like, who am I even talking to? No, the consults are just for the couple. I don't care who you tell after. And if people have questions, that's fine, especially if they're paying. But the consult is for the couple because I need to know the like family dynamic situation and who's a voice and who's a vote and what matters. So those are red flags. Also, moms making appointments for their children. I won't take them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nope. You're getting married. You're an adult. Your mom doesn't make your appointment for you.
For those of you that know Nikki on my team, she is hilarious with this conversation. Hilarious.
I would love to know about this because I love Nikki.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's anytime a mother or a parent or anything will like put in a reservation for their kids, and specifically when they pay for their kids' rooms. And these are, I'm talking kids like adults, right?
Kids, yeah. When you say, "Oh, you have 2 kids," you're like, "How old are your kids?" 30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, Nikki's favorite word is the fuckery. Like this is the complete fuckery. Like it's get your life together. That's
these participation trophy babies that then now we're just going on a rant, but like then you get these like 26-year-olds that don't know how to fill out a form. They're like, oh, it said this and I didn't know what to do, so I just left it blank. I'm like, critical thinking here. Like, let's have some problem solving. There is a certain amount of wherewithal that you have to travel internationally. Like we're not going to the Holiday Inn in Daytona Beach. Like there's going to be things that are important, like legal things we need to talk about and adhere to. So if you're not responsible enough to fill out a form to reserve a flipping room, what makes me think that you can travel to like Costa Rica and be on your own and follow instructions and not get arrested and not like, you know, it's just, you do have to be with it a little bit, which is tying back to qualifying, also tying back to fees. That's why raising your fee will get you a different quality of group, period, hard stop, the end.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there is kind of a sweet spot though, because if you go too high, then you get like more money, more problems, people. Like your new money, apparently. I'm just going to think of you as the mom from Titanic. Lifeboats boarded according to class. That's Mario.
I love it, and I say it with such judgment behind it, but I am no money, so that's.
I know, but we get to do really nice things because of this job, so it makes us feel like we have money.
I say it from a pedestal that is completely unjustified, but anyways, I digress.
Well, it's because those are the people that like treat you like the help.
Yes.
Or which I cannot. Listen. I always want to tell these people, like, I worked in advertising for 15 years before you. You will not speak to me worse than anyone in Manhattan ever spoke to me.
Amen.
I promise you having a rant over your $1,100 Majestic hotel room is not going to be worse than like the CMO of freaking Spotify screaming in my face in a meeting. Like it's not, you can't faze me. So that's just different. But, sometimes the lower budget clients are more of an issue because their money is more precious to them. Like it's true.
I know we're going on a bit of a rant here, but I really think it's, these kids that are signing these contracts, I just said kids because I'm now middle-aged. But these kids that are signing these contracts, I don't think a lot of them, I try and explain it as best I can, right? And you have everything in writing. However, I don't think they realize you're signing a contract that's worth $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's, or more, depending on what you're looking at. But you, by signing with us, you need to be 100% confident that who you're speaking with and who you're working with is going to work in your best interest.
Yeah.
So, if I don't release rooms at attrition, well, shit, we're all on the line for, it's whatever that percentage.
In order, the sequential liability of how that will roll downhill.
Exactly.
Ultimately, it's them that's responsible.
It is.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so much we could talk about with like contracts and red flags. Like when people, so I send a Loom video walking them through the room block contract, and I just had a couple who did not watch I can see in Loom if they even opened the video, didn't open the video, didn't watch it, signed the contract, paid the deposit. I even gave them like an out. I was like, hey, I noticed you haven't watched the Loom video, but you signed. Just want to make sure you don't have any questions. Like, I'm happy to answer. Nope, we're good. Okay.
All right.
I look forward to this biting me in the ass in 6 months, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Love that you trust me so much.
Another question I ask in my qualifying is, and I got this, I kind of adapted this from someone else, and I think it was Heather Christopher. If you know her, she does more like Europe and other things, but she has a question that she asked where it's Friday night and you're invited over. Are you on time? Are you early? Or are you 10 minutes late? And it's such a good indicator of personality. Like, obviously that has nothing to do with a wedding, but I can sure as shit tell if you're the person that says you're showing up 10 minutes late, you're not going to read anything. You're going to ask the same questions over and over. You're going to come to me 6 months later with some ridiculous thing that should have been addressed, at the beginning. Like, there's personality type, and we should ask people their Myers-Briggs or Enneagrams or any of that. Like, I want to know all about you before I agree to be in this 1.5 year long relationship with you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know we've
so quoting.
we've sidetracked a little bit from quoting, but that, I think in a nutshell, that does cover the entire process, right?
Yeah, it's qualifying well. And if you don't have enough information, follow up. Then you're sending a quote that is already narrowed down. You have parameters because you have a service agreement, which we teach in the playbook. You give a service agreement that outlines exactly what you will do and what you will not do. Right. And then you narrow it down according to your service agreement. They pick a place and you move on. But the goal is to get them out of that. I want them out of the decision-making process in a week.
Yes.
I want to be requesting wedding dates at the winning resort within a week.
Yep. Absolutely.
Anything else is too long.
Yep.
What about cutting ties with people in this stage?
I have not had to do it in this stage. I've had to do it after we've already gotten into contract. And I've had to do it before they sign my service agreement. But in this stage, I've not had to do it. What about you?
I have a couple of times. A couple of times it's been them. You know what? We've decided this isn't for us. We're going to get married at home. It's too stressful to me. And great. I'm happy to do that. That's fabulous, because you're doing it the right time before we sign a room block agreement. You truly know that it's not going to work for you. You needed an education. You got that. Most of them don't push back on my fee or my time. They're like, you did the work. Thank you. We just decided to go in a different direction. Okay. Like that. And that's also because my service agreement is very clear that it's non-refundable and non-transferable. So, I mean, every once in a while, does somebody ask for a refund? Yeah. That's a different topic. I don't want to go there right now, but I have had people where it's been their decision. And I have had 1 or 2 over the last 9 years where I have said, you know what? I don't think this is a good fit for you. Like, I have made the call of like, we've gone 3 rounds. That's more than my agreement calls for. I would be happy to give you more options, but truthfully, there is nothing else, because what you want is a unicorn, and that unicorn doesn't exist. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you go. Here's your money back. Like, I'm choosing to, because it is not worth it. Like, it is not worth it to fight them about the service fee and have them, if they were that difficult to work with that you couldn't even pick a resort, by all means, give them their money back and get them out of your life, because that's just going to get worse.
That might be the direction my holiday couple is heading in. This might be my first one that I run into that with.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, just because I don't think what they're looking for, I don't think exists. So we'll see. But
It's I've worked with this coach in the past, Heather Vickery, and she's done some stuff with classic, and her name's been around the travel industry in a while. But she has this thing, like, you have to ask yourself, if it is not a fuck yes or a hell no, like, you're gonna have a strong feeling about it either way. And sometimes there's some gray area. Like, sometimes we don't like doing hard things, but we have to, and you've got to get through them. But 90% of the time I can look at a couple and be like, yes, no. Yeah. And I just know. But that's also come from almost 10 years of doing this. And that just comes in time.
Now, I know this is a completely different, this could be an entirely different episode. So we won't play too far into it. But one of the most important things when you do decide to cut those ties and, this is where it ends, is a termination agreement.
Hell yeah.
Making sure that it's clear that our relationship is done. It's once we sign this and once if there's a refund, once I process that refund, we're done. There's no more. That's
paperwork official. We are over.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can dive into that deeper, in another conversation, but it is an important notable mention when we're talking about it here. It's just making sure that termination agreement is in place.
Yeah. And that's a playbook thing we talk about too, is, service agreements. We throw out that phrase a lot. Some people may not know what that is, but that is the agreement where the couple or the client chooses to hire you. You give a description of your services, what you do and what you don't do. They sign, they agree, they pay a fee. You have a contractual relationship. And if you end that contractual relationship, there needs to be a document ending that too. And that's what Mario's talking about with the termination agreement.
Always have to make sure in any business relationship that you are legally protected, and that service agreement and termination agreement are just two of the most important things to make sure that you're able to fall back on if needed. You don't really want to have those conversations, but sometimes those conversations happen.
Well, we kind of took a turn from clothing, but I think it's all good and related. So many parts of this job are interconnected. And, having that strong foundation is what will fuel you through the other stages of the process. But the foundation is key. I think that's a good segue. We said we were going to start making announcements at the end of these episodes from now until May.
Yes.
So go ahead, Mario.
Quit doing that.
No, it's not fair. So we've talked a lot about knowledge and foundation and the playbook and Destination Wedding University, which is what brought us together. So we have the exciting announcement that at the end of May, we are relaunching the next version of Destination Wedding University.
Absolutely. So this is going to be our course where we go through niche, attraction, conversion, and automation. We walk through what the destination wedding industry is, why the niche exists, why we are involved in it. We talk about, attracting those clients, bringing them into your funnel, making sure that you understand what the process looks like all the way through, what a funnel is if you don't understand that. And then going into converting those clients into paid sales that are then getting us to this part, right? Quoting the hotels, things like that. And then automation. So once we're in contract, automating that process so that you can continue to do this in bulk and not focus on 1 to 3 weddings a year. We're doing 30 to 50 weddings a year.
Grow your business. If you are at all, maybe you've done a wedding or two and you can do it better and smarter, or you think you can do it better and smarter, or maybe you've never planned group travel in your life, but you want to get started because you see the path and you see that that's the path to having a more reliable schedule, having more, business that you control versus the business controlling you. Groups are absolutely the pathway to that. Mario and I are both living proof that groups will get you to where you need to be as a successful agency owner or a travel advisor. But you have to have the foundation. You have to have the learning. This is a course. This will be the 6th cohort of this course. First one, Mario and I are teaching together. And it will be taught live, which is very exciting. There have been some versions of the course in the past where kind of go at your own pace, pre-recorded, but this one's going to be taught live, 15 weeks, starting at the end of May. And we're very excited. So if you were at all groups curious or wedding curious, you should sign up. It's worth it. And we'll have more about that. There's going to be some webinars and some things in May. So we'll talk about that more when we get closer, but we're just putting it out there now, end of May.
Absolutely. We can't wait for you guys to join us. Even if you're just a little curious about it, join the webinar. The webinar is a thing, and you can learn a little bit more about what the playbook is.
Or if you just want to watch me spill coffee in my lap for like the 3rd time.
That too.
Or watch Mario's rants about new money.
It's me on my pedestal, and I enjoy it there. That's this debauchery only gets much, much worse in the playbook. So
we're a good time. You should come just for that. Just come for the entertainment. All right. Well, this was good.
Note, thank you very much again, as always. It was great chatting with you, and we're all good. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Running a travel business may have its challenges, but with a dash of humor, the right tools, an amazing community, and a lot of wine, success awaits us all. Raise a glass with us and toast to your remarkable journey.
Don't forget, if you're ready to take the next step in your travel career, one where you can focus on developing your niche, attracting leads, converting them into new clients, and automating your systems, you can build the business of your dreams. If you're ready, join us in the Playbook Inner Circle at jointheplaybook.com. We can't wait to see you inside.